Okay. So I think we're good to go, I guess. So welcome aboard again. Today we're going to tell you a story. Actually, three stories of enterprises who had enough of wasting their valuable resources and time in inefficient Jira workflows. We're going to walk you through the stories of three enterprises who saved time and cut costs by syncing Jira issues. We have already had a little bit of introductions, and we kind of already guessed from registrations and the target audience and who are we going to be in the audience today. But perhaps you are a Jira admin who's trying to improve collaboration across departments and organizations. You're curious about how other teams are collaborating, especially across different Jira projects and instances. Or maybe you are an Atlassian solution partner who needs some inspiration for their own clients. Some of you might be looking for new ways to work with your partners and customers and vendors, and leveling up your Jira project management. Or perhaps you're a product or project manager who's looking for ways to save time and effort for your organization. Whoever you are, I'm really happy to see so many of you here today. Thank you so much for spending your time, and let's have some fun. So just officially, these are your hosts or official. Starting off with myself, I'm Umar Sohail. I'm the product marketing manager at K15T for Backbone Issue Sync for Jira. And if you're wondering what both of these are, just hold your horses. We're gonna get to it in a short bit. A little bit about myself. I had a crazy journey where switched from mechanical engineering to marketing about 5 years ago, came to Germany from Pakistan. And since then, I've been in this marketing field, and I've been working for Backbone and for K15T for about 2+ years. And in my free time, I've been venturing out with a little bit of stand-up comedy and try to make some silly jokes. You'll see a hint of it in this webinar as well. I hope you like it. With me, I'm joined with by my lovely colleague Lizette. Maybe you want to say a couple of words about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if I can top up to a stand-up comedian. But anyway, I'm Lisette. I'm the product manager here at K15T of Backbone Issue Sync. I used to live in Germany. That's also when I joined K15T. But as you might be able to hear from my accent, I'm actually from the Netherlands. Moved back to the Netherlands, but never moved away from K15T because I'm really excited to talk about our product. So let's do that today.
Nice. And not to forget, we are also joined by our technical product manager, Matthias Geiser, or Matze in short, as we call him. And he's in the chat and the Q&A moderator for today. He'll be dropping some cool links for you every now and then. And he also has some polls ready for you, so we can keep this interactive and we know a little bit about yourself, about our audience as well. We are also joined today by the real superstars of our story, that is our customers. So first up, we have Laura from Arvato Systems, who is an integration expert and a consultant. Do you want to say a couple of words about yourself, Laura?
Yeah, yes, sure. Yes, I'm Laura. I'm working as an Atlassian consultant and integration expert in Arvato Systems, I think now for around 8 to 9 years. Yep, and I'm happy to be invited and to be here today.
We're super, super excited to have you here. Secondly, we are supposed to have Nathan from Abano. Abano is an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. He's also senior consultant. He's probably running a little bit late. Let's hope he can make it. Again, thank you so much for being here. And we are going to be featuring their stories in this webinar. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So as I said, you can use the chat for questions. Feel free to ask any questions. Drop your questions in the chat and Q&A panel, and we have a Q&A session at the end. So in case they are for us or for Laura, maybe about how Arvato Systems is working or the Jira setup or anything in particular, we'll try to get her to respond as well. Lastly, this webinar will be recorded and sent via email, so you can review it. You don't need to worry about taking notes or anything. And if some of your colleagues couldn't make it today, then you can also share it with them. So let's kick things off. I'm sure you're all part of projects where prioritizing pressing tasks and managing stakeholders can turn into a bit of a juggling act. Keeping everyone organized and in sync can be tricky, but that's where Jira comes to the rescue. I always think of Jira as this super organized friend who always knows what needs to be done and who's doing it. With Jira, you can create tasks, assign them to team members, and track their progress all in one place. It's like having a giant digital to-do list where that everyone can see and update. But as we all know, even the super organized friends can burn out or needs a hand every now and then. Collaborating within Jira is simple and efficient. But how do you continue using it when you have to collaborate across different projects or instances? You either have to jump across different projects and manually copy paste issues, or use your automations or scripts to copy paste the issues. So hold on to your hats. Right now, it's gonna get a little bit technical here. So for me, I personally categorize people into three buckets when it comes to working in Jira projects, and especially across different Jira projects. So first category is this poor dog who's in denial. It's like the 5 stages of grief, but the first stage, denial, is simply given up on, accepted the chaos of misaligned teams and unsynced Jira issues. I'm pretty sure none of us are here, or at least I hope none of us here are like this. And then secondly, we skip all the 3 stages in between. So anger, bargaining, depression. I know we've been there, but we get right to acceptance. And this is where you become detective or investigator in this case, who's constantly chasing down updates and missing infos and trying to align teams. Most of you are kind of in that position where you're trying to find a better way to work in Jira, but it's a tough task, as we all know. And this is probably not in alignment with the contemporary knowledge in psychology these days. But the third stage after grief for me is sync success. At least for Jira admins, that's the case. The stage we all want to be in. So you turn into a Jira superhero, a Jira man, woman, no relation to Jira guy, by the way, who seamlessly manages working across Jira instances without breaking a sweat. And that is exactly the story of the 3 customers covered in this webinar, who went from chaos to being investigators and finally Jira superheroes. The first customer we're going to introduce features Abano systems that has dozens of Jira software and Jira service management projects. Moving tickets between them and keeping them all in sync was challenging, and they experimented with multiple connector, middleware softwares, and automations, which are expensive and hard to maintain. Secondly, we have a story for you that features Belgian government department and Abano NV, Atlassian Platinum solution partner. They wanted to streamline their customer service by connecting their JSM help desk with an internal JSM instance to triage selected tickets, but they were manually copying it. And again, as you can imagine, it was wasting a lot of time and resources for them. Finally, we have Wayfinder Dynamics. It's a Dutch multinational, and name is anonymized, who wanted to connect their projects on Jira DC with their partners Jira Cloud. And they had an additional requirement of their partner could not install any Jira apps on their instance. Previously, they were adding new users into their Jira instance. That was causing incurring additional costs. And finally, as I mentioned, we'll have a Q&A session. So in case you have any questions about Backbone or any of our customer cases, just drop them and we'll try to get to them. So just before we dive in, quick introduction about K15T. It was founded in 2009. So this year we turned 15 years old. We are made up of 60 people. You can see most of us here in this picture. We are headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany, where I am logging in from today. But we have folks who work from all over the world, like Lizette is working from Netherlands. What do we do at K15T? We believe that Atlassian products are the perfect base for every team to be able to collaborate effectively and manage their knowledge and information. But how do you get that information and knowledge to those who need it the most? For example, your customers or your partners or other stakeholders. We have seen that as a big challenge, and for teams who use Atlassian tools, and that's where we come in. So K15T helps teams turn their know-how into impact to enable their customers, partners, and users. We, with our app, we enable teams to take knowledge into Confluence and Jira and share it with those who need it the most and in the format that has the most impact. So we currently serve about 8,700 customers worldwide, about 24,000 active installations on Atlassian Marketplace across our products. And you can see some of our clients here. So it's like BMW, Spotify, even Atlassian themselves uses some of our products. As of today, we have 17 apps in our portfolio. The scroll apps are a collection of Confluence apps that enables customers to manage, share, and publish information from Confluence. And Backbone Issue Sync, the one featured in this webinar, enables teams to better collaborate Jira projects and instances by syncing Jira issues. With that, let's get started. So as I said, we want to keep this a little bit interactive. So I'd like to quickly take a little bit of interaction from you and your feedback on what are the problems you're facing currently when you're dealing or you're collaborating across Jira instances. Matze will drop the link. Okay, there we go. So in the stage of denial, like this poor dog, what problems are you facing when dealing with when you want to resolve the issue of collaborating across Jira instances? Is it unnecessary cost? It could be miscommunication between teams. Is it slow pace of work? Perhaps it's you're just not able to collaborate or communicate easily with your teammates, or is it maybe you are using some sort of solutions at the moment, but they are just too complicated? Or is it something else? Just drop it in the chat if there's I missed out on something. It could be some crazy way that you're working and we don't know about, or some other problem that I missed out. I still see some scales moving, but let's give it 10 more seconds and then we can end the poll. Okay, I guess we can end it and then publish the results. All right, so as expected, we get 35% of people saying miscommunication between teams, but the largest part or largest amount of people are saying poor team collaboration, which is precisely what we're going to tackle in this webinar. Besides that, there's slow pace of work, complicated current solutions as well. We'd like to know what kind of solutions, what other solutions you've been using. We have another poll for it as well, so you can drop some information there as well. And there are some people who said something else, so we'd like to know that as well. What do you mean by that? So we can stop sharing now, I guess, and we can move into our first customer story. Wait. So yeah, let's kick things off with Arvato Systems. They are part of Bertelsmann-owned Arvato Group that supports enterprises globally in digital transformation. They're a company of about 3,400 employees with 25 locations worldwide. So yeah, they are a conglomerate for sure. They develop IT solutions and help customers transition to the cloud and integrate digital processes and manage IT operations. They have big partners like AWS, Google, Microsoft, SAP, and leverage advanced technologies to enhance their customers' experience. Again, we have Lara from Arvato Systems joining us for the webinar. She's a consultant and integrations expert. Thank you so much for being here. Arvato Systems uses dozens of internal Jira and JSM projects for various departments at Bertelsmann. These projects involve departments like HR service, delivery, and facilities and vendor management, but the most common ones are customer support and development services. One pain point was finding a better way to collaborate across departments, working on different Jira projects. They also wanted to get rid of, or at least reduce the usage of Jira automations and other connector and middleware software as much as possible. Let's get a little bit more into detail about how their setup looks like. So multiple support teams often work on a single project for Avado systems, and the customer support team receives some feature requests and bug reports on the JSM project from internal teams at Bertelsmann. Usually level one support can resolve some queries within JSM, but other queries need escalation to second or third level support, where more senior development teams working in Jira, like separate Jira software projects. So the main challenge was keeping information between Jira and JSM projects up to date. So all teams have the right information at all times. Initially, they manually copy pasted updates across projects by jumping across the Jira instances, but that was time consuming, obviously, and labor intensive as well. Buying additional JSM agent licenses for other users who could join in the project was also incurring an increased subscription fee. They also tried various other solutions like automation rules and a custom connector or middleware software. But as you could imagine, these also have their own drawbacks. So for instance, the automation, there's loss of data, and they were hard to maintain, as most of us know. While the middleware or connector software costs a lot to build and waste a lot of resources and time. This is where they found out about Backbone issue sync about 5 years ago, perhaps. And so they use Backbone to connect the JSM and Jira projects and triage the relevant issues using JQL filters, as they can pick and choose which issue types, for example, custom fields or attachments or workflows to synchronize. Thus, they remain in complete control over the data that is being synced. For comment syncing, Backbone also allows choosing between internal and public comments. So that was a feature that was particularly praised by Avado systems, and that's one of our popular features when people are trying to connect between JSM projects and GSM or Jira or JSM to JSM. Now, so much so that they reported to have about 96% savings in time spent on rather setting up the configurations like Jira automations or other software that they had for syncing issues. They've been syncing projects and working seamlessly across Jira instances for 3,400 plus Jira users, and that's about 25 locations worldwide. So it's no problems or boundaries as well for them. And they, as I mentioned, they have been using the Backbone for about 5 years. And the crazy part, they're one of the biggest like power users, as you would call it, for Backbone. So they have about 60 plus project synchronizations created using Backbone. Here's a quote from Stuart White, who's also a senior consultant at Avado Systems. Sadly, couldn't join us today. He's on vacations, so not sad for him. Obviously, I hope he's having a good time. But Laura is here, so yeah, no worries. So Backbone proved significantly faster and easier and cheaper to set up for Avado Systems. The feature-rich experience of Backbone ensured that Jira issues are always up to date and accurate, helping them deliver more value to their customers. Matthias will drop the link to Avado Systems customer story in the chat. So in case you want to read it in more detail, or you want to dive a little bit deeper into it, just follow the link and you can find it there. With that, we'll move on to our second poll before we dive into the next customer story. And this is where I like to know how you are currently working across Jira instances, or what kind of ways you're using to do so. So there could be other ways if in case you are using it, and this is probably your investigator phase where you're just trying to figure out a way to do it. So is it right now you're using some sort of Jira automations or scripts, or you're using a custom-made connector software like Avado Systems was doing so, or still is or to some extent. Are you manually copying pasting Jira data across instances, like by manually jumping across Are you adding partners on your own Jira instance so they can also they have access to everything in your instance and you don't need to worry about it, but you obviously need to worry about the security and privacy of your data. Or maybe you are using a Jira Sync app like Backbone. There are some others as well, and so we'd like to know. Or there's also, we've heard that some people still email Jira issues to each other. It could be no judgments. Just want to know. So we'll keep this rolling for maybe 10 more seconds. Still see some responses coming in. All right. Nice. I think you're good to go. Yeah, you can share the results, Matsu. Okay. So very interesting. So Jira automations or scripts, as I predicted earlier, we had our internal bet, like what's gonna be the biggest option here. So there's a tie between Jira automation and Jira Sync app. So I'm not sure if I won the bet or not, but yeah, I'll claim it as a win. Um, so that's the biggest one, the two biggest ones. Then we have 15% custom made connector software. And then we also have some manual copy pasting of data across instances. And finally, we have some people who have added partners on their instance as well. And some people are emailing as well. So interesting. Okay, we can stop sharing. And now I will hand it over to Lizette for the next two stories. Lizette?
Yes, I will take over. Thank you, Umar. So yeah, I want to start with the second story, and that is, as Umar quickly introduced it already, about Abano. And Abano is a Belgian Platinum Atlassian solution partner, and they have years of experience advising both Belgium but also international clients on optimizing processes and operations using, of course, the Atlassian tools. You might also know them for their Atlassian event in Belgium known as Technovate, which I think is also happening again next year, which is really fun to join. So if you're in the area, I would recommend to do so. And let's have a look at Abano's use case. So as mentioned, Abano works with a lot of customers, and one of them was a Belgian public service department who they helped with their digital transformation. This public service department has multiple level service teams, meaning level 1 to level 2 customer service to resolve the queries and requests of the public. What they wanted to achieve was accelerating ITSM and their customer service. And they saw that the main problem was the alignment between the different levels of support. So between this first and second level support, as they were both operating in their own projects with their own processes. So the challenge was to reduce the time and resources spent working and communicating across these different departments, and to reduce the number of errors caused due to misalignment and manual operations, such as the copy and pasting of information. So let's have a deeper look into the use case. So as mentioned, Abano have been helping the Belgian Public Service Department to guide their digital transformation for a couple of years. And as part of the project, the government department launched a digital portal based on Jira Service Management to automate the request creation process for the public. So this portal allowed citizens, but also businesses and other government agencies to submit requests related to the administrative services that this department offered. They wanted to digitalize the ticket submission system in JSM for the public departments because of multiple reasons. The first one being improved accessibility. Digital systems can be accessed 24/7, so allowing the public to submit tickets at any time, not just in the office hours. The second reason was efficiency and speed. So digital submissions can be processed more quickly than paper-based ones, reducing the time it takes to address and also resolve the issues for the public. Of course, also an aspect was the cost reduction, so reducing the need for paper, printing, storage, etc. But also it reduced the need for staff to manually handle submissions, freeing them up for other tasks. And last but not least, transparency and accountability. So digital systems can provide real-time updates of the status of a ticket, so improving the transparency there. And thus they went with JSM to digitalize their ticket creation. So back to their workflow. They've created a public help portal of JSM for the public to create a request, and then they all came directly to the first level support. But besides that, as mentioned before, they also had a second level support team. And for this team, they've implemented another Jira service management project. And both these projects were operated by separate teams. So just for the full picture of their setup, the public submits requests through the public help portal. These requests ends up with the first level support team. And in here, it's either resolved directly with the customer or triaged and passed on to the second level support team for further investigation and processing. Easy as that, you might think, but as with any project, this also faced some challenges. And the topmost being avoiding miscommunication between these two support teams. They had to keep relevant teams updated at all times across these two projects, across these two teams. And they had to do this, of course, to ensure that they would be as fast as possible to react and also resolve the tickets the public had created. A common way around this, and I think Umar also touched upon this, is to resolve it manually by updating the tickets. So what you do is you give some users access to both projects, and then these users jump between the two projects and instances and manually copy and paste the updates into the JSM tickets. However, as you might imagine, this method is very time-consuming, prone to errors, and costly due to the need for additional Jira Service Management agent licenses. And so the consultants of Abano needed to find a solution to avoid further risks of misaligned teams, so making sure that the content is always up to date, avoiding the risk of loss of data, so making sure that the right data is copied, including status changes, comments, attachments, etc. But also avoid the risk of wasting time, so having their service team jumping around projects only costs the time. And last but not least, avoid the risk of error by, for example, copying things over to the wrong issue or project, or copying things that shouldn't be copied over in the first place. And so here's where Backbone keeps in to automatically keep the issues in sync. So connecting the two JSM instances using Backbone allowed the relevant tickets and associated information to be synced and kept up to date at all times. So this enabled both teams to continue working in their own projects and easily communicate with the other team, thus significantly improving their workflow. Now, as mentioned before, not all tickets from the first level had to be copied over. So, for instance, only the tickets for vehicle fines needed second level support. Therefore, they set up that a user can add a label like vehicle fine request to a ticket, and then it would automatically sync to the other instance in real time through the JQual filter functionality. All the other tickets would just stay in their project and never be synced to the second level support team, as they didn't need to do anything with that. So this ensures that employees work on requests immediately without leaving their instances, projects, workflows, and all updates are automatically synced on both instances. So they have complete control over which issues, fields, comments, and attachments get synchronized. And as Nathan points out here, it's all based on how you set it up in the UI. So you don't need to do any scripting. It's easy to learn how to work with it, to get started, and also not unimportant to also maintain it afterwards. And again, Matze will drop a link to Abano's customer story in the chat, so you can read it more in detail. I feel like I have a virtual agent right here. That's pretty cool. So if you're interested, feel free to give that a read as well. And now before we dive into the next story, quickly do another poll. And we'd like to know what use case you'd like to solve when collaborating across Jira projects or instances. So I see Matze put the poll up. Yes, you're a little robot, Matze. I see that. So yeah, what's the use case you want to resolve? Is that to improve agile project management or improving ITSM? It's basically what Umar and I have been talking about a little bit before. Is it connecting despite strict security protocols? So if you want to sync to another instance that has really strict protocols and you can't even install an app there, or even connecting behind firewalls, that's also an option. And of course, if it's not there what you're looking for, feel free to also put it in the chat as well, because I'm sure we missed a couple here as well. I'm just looking through the answers. Some are coming in. Okay, It's interesting to see it already. I guess we'll give it like 10 more seconds like Umar did before as well, before we show the results. Then I can also take a sip of water. Cool. All right, I think we can share the results. So pretty exciting to see actually that a lot of you are looking to improve ITSM, that's your use case. As Umar and I have shared a lot about that already. I hope that was useful. Also see connecting despite strict security protocols. I'm really happy that some of you picked that because that's what I'm going to dive into more with the next user story. So with that said, let's also look into the next story. Yes, let me just get this out of the way. Cool. So the last one is Wayfinder Dynamics. And as Uma mentioned before, this name is anonymized. We thought of it ourselves, so you don't need to look for it on Google. But the customer is very real. And Wayfinder Dynamics is a Dutch multinational developer and creator of location technology with a global team of over 3,700 employees. They develop mapping solutions for thousands of companies worldwide. And Wayfinder Dynamics is collaborating with a lot of other parties. For instance, with developers, mapping teams, and automotive partners who are all using different Jira instances. They have similar needs as the previous customer, so I won't go into too much detail there, but they also struggle to collaborate with these different parties on their Jira instances and also different deployment types. And in addition to that, they also have some security sensitive partners which don't allow or make it quite hard to install apps on their Jira instance. So let's have a look at their workflow. So Wayfinder Dynamics uses Jira software projects to keep track of their projects with their partners. These partners include third-party suppliers and vendors, as well as service providers who help Wayfinder build and run their software. Wayfinder is using Jira Data Center, while most of their partners are using Jira Clouds. And they wanted to connect these projects to the partner and tried different ways. The first one, using Jira scripts. Previously, they were employing scripts to copy Jira ticket data across instances, which was unsustainable since the scripts were hard to maintain and also frequently broke down. And this resulted often in the loss of data. Either that, or they were adding partners to the company Jira. But this costed more time for users to switch between the two projects, and also it was adding additional costs. So much so that after an internal audit, they found that over 400 users of partners were added onto their instance, and they were paying for their licenses. But these users had not even logged into their projects for months, meaning they were paying thousands of dollars in licensing fees for no reason at all for users that weren't even actively using it. And I guess by now you could have guessed it what the solution was. It was Backbone. So this problem was resolved when they installed Backbone to connect their DC to the partner's cloud and DC instances and seamlessly synced issues without using any scripts or adding even more people on their Jira instance. But as mentioned, that was not all. Wayfinder had a second challenge. They are collaborating with partners who can't install Backbone or any marketplace app on their instance. And this is where Backbone's unique remote licensing option comes in, which allowed them to sync Jira instances with partners even when they can't install Backbone on both sides. The remote license was very useful when working with these partners restricted by these strong security protocols and who couldn't install apps, but they still needed to sync issues in real time. And besides that, it also has a couple more advantages, such as a simplified management. Only one installation of Backbone is required, reducing administrative overhead. You don't depend on your sync partner anymore, and the security restrictions, app installation policies of your sync partner. So you don't need to wait for their approval. It's all managed in one place on your site. Another aspect is cost efficiency. So all costs are in one place, meaning there's no need to convince the other party to allocate budget and take more time. Also, the remote license has like a quick deployment. So you get from us an XML file, you install it on your instance, and you can easily set up and start syncing with the full functionality that Backbone offers. And last but not least, security compliant. So it allows syncing across Jira instances in an encrypted and secure way, even when strict security protocols prevent installing apps on both sides. So in short, the remote license offers a full functionality of a regular marketplace license, but allows you the flexibility to sync issues with your sync partner without installing Backbone on their instance. So for this remote license, you would need to contact either your partner or us as the Backbone team, as it can't be accessed through the marketplace. And again, Matze will drop a link in the chat to our landing page where you can request a trial and contact us and find the documentation where you can learn more about how this remote license works. And we'll also share it in the follow-up mailing afterwards to make sure that you have that. And a little scoop for you all, we already have the remote license on Data Center, and very, very soon we're also gonna have the remote license available on cloud as well. So stay tuned for that as well. And that's a wrap of our last story of today. But before I let y'all go and hand it back over to Umer, I just wanted to talk about how we are building for enterprises. So we know that enterprises have deeper requirements and different challenges due to their complexity, of course, but also regarding, for example, privacy and security when it comes to their tool stack. And we guess this is especially true when it comes to collaborating across systems, whether that's within their own organization or outside with other organizations. And we heard that from our partners and customers. And that's why we've worked hard to help enterprises clear those challenges. Therefore, I want to highlight a few of our efforts that we were built for enterprise. And the first one being the data residency capability for Backbone. So this release makes Backbone the only issue sync app to support data residency. And data residency basically means that Backbone users on Jira Cloud can choose to store their data in the US, in the EU, or even more specifically, also in Germany. And next to data residency, we've also recently introduced a new sync mode called the review mode. And in this review mode, all updates made to the configuration need to be accepted by both you and the partner. So this gives you full control over what data, for example, which issues, which fields are getting synced, and who can make changes to the configuration. So nothing goes live without you knowing about it and actually accepting it as well. And so these two features are part of a larger effort by our Backbone team to make the product ready for enterprises. So to round it off, some of these other efforts include cryptographic data encryption, also GDPR compliance, Backbone's participation in both the Atlassian Cloud Fortified and Bug Bounty programs, and soon also the ISO certification. And with that, it's time for another poll, which I will also hand over to Umer.
Yep, thank you very much. Let me just share my screen as well. All right, so time for reckoning for us, I guess. Are just some feedback on the webinar. So what did you think about the webinar? Did you find it useful in terms of how much did you learn about collaborating across Jira instances today? On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 is a lot. So I hope we get most 5s, but even if it was 1, that was pretty cool because then we can, align it a little bit better. We have follow-up communication, so we can give you a little bit more information, a little bit more resources that you can learn on. So we'll continue the poll for a little bit and then, right. I think, yeah, I mean, I still see moving. Come on, guys, you can do it. Don't think too hard. Just the first thing that comes in you and pick that. I think it's good enough now, right? Maybe, yeah, okay. We can share the results. So on average, the most one is the 4, I guess. We have some 5s as well. So happy to read that. We have some 3s and a couple of 1s as well. And so yeah, it's a good mix. Good feedback for us. And I'm happy for people who learned a lot about Jira syncing today. And for people who didn't, just watch out for our follow-up emails and follow communication, or follow the links there, and hopefully you can get a little bit more insights into what you were looking for. So to wrap things up, before the Q&A session. These are the main benefits of Backbone. Just to highlight it again, you stay on the same page. Backbone takes care of syncing issues, so no information is lost, and you don't have to switch between Jira projects. You have full control over what gets synced and what doesn't. There's simple configuration UI, so you can quickly get started, and there's no scripting required at all. Backbone gives you full flexibility, so you can sync between any project. So as Lizette also mentioned there, Jira Software, Jira Service Management, or Cloud or Data Center, any combination is possible. And now with remote licenses, you can also sync across instances even without installing Backbone on both sides. That's one of the biggest differentiators for Backbone. That is all from our side from the stories part. So if you have any more questions, just go to k15t.com/backbone or scan the QR code here. The app is available on the marketplace, Atlassian marketplace, and you can use it for free for 30 days. And now I'd like to open the floor up for questions. And I think Matse has also shared some FAQs on some FAQs on the pricing and everything. So we have one question from Wasim. What is the pricing model if you can install only on one instance? Is that?
I'll go into the pricing. Yeah, so maybe if you don't have the remote license, you install it on both instances. Price depends on the user tier of the instance you install it on. With the remote license, you still install like the normal Backbone license from the marketplace. That's based on the user tier. And then the remote license, we're currently actually working on the prices. So I can't share too much for that, but there is a price that's similar-ish to your user tier price that you will also need for the remote license. We'll probably share some more on that soon.
Yeah, and the link that Matse shared in the chat about remote licensing, it also has the pricing page, so you can take a look at what is the current status. But as Lizette mentioned, it will be adapted a little bit in the future, very soon. Yeah. And I think also Matsu also shared the link to documentation where we have collected some key metrics on Backbone's data security or handling policy, or industry certifications, or what are the performance benchmarks. So you just follow that resource there. So we have another question from Martin. When can we expect to see Backbone sync Jira Cloud and Jira DC using remote license on Jira Cloud?
So this is our top priority at the moment. We're working hard on it. Expectations would be around September, but we hope to get it out a bit sooner. But that's the expectation right now, beginning of September.
You have a date. I'm happy to hear that. Nice. If you have also any questions about Laura and Avado systems, or anything about their use case, you can also ask that. Or maybe since we have Laura here, if you can still hear us, maybe in a couple of sentences you can mention what your experience was with, you were using automations and then you switched to Backbone. So what was the biggest difference that you saw?
Yeah, I think you explained it already really well in the success story. We talked already about it. Automations, you have to think a lot about what to configure, how to configure it. It's a lot easier with Backbone, at least with the menu. Yes.
Nice.
I think this was one of the biggest advantages for us in comparison to automations.
Nice. Yeah, and are you still in the 60 plus range, or now you've gone up to 70 or 80? I don't know. It's crazy.
I think we've gone up to it's getting more and more. We have a lot of Jira Service Management projects. We have a lot of Jira Software projects. Oh, now it's Jira.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. 60 plus configurations. That's a lot. But yeah, really happy that Backbone is helping you out. Maybe a couple more FAQs that we've collected. So like generally what we are hear from our customers. So do we support custom fields or synchronization of custom fields? Maybe Lizette, you wanna also take this?
Yep. Yeah, Backbone basically supports the full range of Jira fields. So if you create your own custom fields, you can synchronize that, as well as, I mean, we mentioned that attachments, comments, workflows. Also maybe good for custom fields. They don't need to exist on both sides, so they can be named a little bit different, for example, and you can still map them. So yeah, we do support custom fields as well.
Okay. Right. I have one more or maybe a couple more. So, do you have questions? So, including assets?
Not yet. Not yet.
It's still in our backlog, right? So yeah, it's on our plans.
Yeah.
Get into it. Okay. Is there a limit to the number of issues or projects that we can sync using Backbone?
There's not. I think we also heard a good example from Laura with like 60 plus projects being synced. So basically you can sync as many projects as you want, as many issues as you want. There's no limit set by Backbone.
Right. Robert says he's having trouble setting up a sync with the team field. That's a custom field, I presume, right?
Is the team field from the advanced roadmap, or I think it's from some part of Jira? I'm not 100% sure where it is from.
It's from advanced roadmap.
Yeah, okay. Then I was right. So we don't support advanced roadmaps yet. So that's also same with assets like on our backlog. But at the moment it's not supported.
Okay, maybe one last question before we end things. So what happens if the sync fails? Or is there a troubleshooting way? And what about support?
Yeah, I can take that as well. So if something fails, like if an issue can't be synced for whatever reason, it will always show up in the troubleshooting of the app. And also you can set up notifications for it so that you don't need to first go into Backbone to check if something's wrong, but you actually get an email. And besides that, you can, of course, always reach out to us in support as well. We're happy to help there.
Okay. Matse has also dropped feature requests, so you can track it for advanced roadmaps. Yeah, whenever there's an update, then you can know about it. Okay, so yeah, with that, I'll round things off. Thank you so much for everyone for being here, and I hope you've enjoyed as much as we did. And if we've put some new ideas in your head and you learn a little bit more about issue syncing, you can always reach out to us if you have further questions. And Mats has also sent out the email that you can reach out to hello@k15t.com or visit our help portal. You can open a direct ticket there for partners as well. We have a dedicated help portal. So feel free to use it. And with that, I will say thank you and see you later, alligator. Bye.
Bye-bye.